welcome to the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures and our beautiful David Geffen Theater. The Academy Museum is the largest museum in the world dedicated to global cinema and the arts, sciences, and artists of movie making. My name is Amy Homa, and I'm the director and president of the museum. And it is my honor to be with you here tonight to present a screening of Central Station, preceded by a conversation with the film's director and 2025 Academy Museum Gala honoree, writer-director Walter Salles. Tonight's conversation will be moderated by filmmaker Wenders, a friend of Walter's, who will also be presenting Mr. Salles with his honor at our 5th annual Academy Museum Gala on Saturday, October 18th. A very special thank you to Rolex, our longtime partner and generous presenters of this program. Rolex's dedication to the arts is unparalleled, and we are deeply grateful for their support across so many of our Academy programs. I would also like to thank the Richard Roth Foundation for its continued support of Academy Museum film programming. Walter Salles' 1998 Oscar-nominated feature, Central Station, is screening tonight on a 35mm print from the Academy Film Archive, and I'd like to thank our projectionist this evening, Spencer Cristiano, in the booth, as well as our entire theater operations team for supporting tonight's screening. Central Station is screening on a polyester Kodak print from 1998 that is in fairly good condition. You will see some light wear throughout this vintage print, including light scratches and dust, mostly near the heads and tails of each reel, but features nice color and grain. This Saturday, Salles will receive the Academy Museum's Luminary Award, given each year to an artist whose contributions have expanded the creative possibilities of cinema. Widely regarded as one of the most significant Brazilian filmmakers of all time, Walter Salles is a major figure in the Cinema de Rato Medo period in Brazil, a period between 1995 and 2002 that witnessed an incredible rebirth of the country's cinema production, re-cementing its place on the international stage as an influential producer of important cultural statements through the art form of the moving image. Beginning his career in the nonfiction space, Salles' first breakthrough film was the one you are about to watch tonight, which earned a nomination for foreign language film, now called international feature film, as well as a nomination for lead actress Fernanda Montenegro, mother of Fernanda Torres, who was nominated last year for her incredible performance in I'm Still Here. Vim and Walter will no doubt get into the details of his career further in the conversation. Before I bring our esteemed guests on stage, please silence or turn off your electronic devices. There's no eating allowed in our theaters, though bottled water is fine, and please refrain from talking during the programs. So let's get right to these bios, shall we? Walter Salles gained international acclaim with his 1998 film Central Station, which won the Golden Bear at the Berlin Film Festival and earned 2 Academy Award nominations. The Motorcycle Diaries from 2004, which explores the early life of Ernesto Guevara, received 2 Oscar nominations, winning Best Original Song, and 7 BAFTA nominations, winning Best Film Not in the English Language. Salles co-directed with Daniela Thomas the Brazilian film Linha de Paz, which earned newcomer Sandra Corleone the Best Actress Award at the Cannes Film Festival. Among his other films are Behind the Sun from 2001 and On the Road from 2012. Salles has also directed documentaries such as Jia Zhongka, A Guy from Penang, a film about the Chinese independent film director from 2014. Salles also received the Robert Bresson Award for his body of work at the Venice Film Festival in 2009 and the Marcus Aurelius Award for Lifetime Achievement at the Rome Film Festival in 2014. In 2024, his most recent film, I'm Still Here, premiered at the Venice Film Festival, where it was awarded the Golden Osella for Best Screenplay. The film went on to break box office records and win numerous awards around the world, including the Golden Globe Award for lead actress Fernanda Torres and the Academy Award for Best International Feature. Yes, thank you. Incredible. Salles also won the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon East-West Award for Career Achievement at the 2024 Pinhao Film Festival. He is widely recognized for his ability to blend personal and political narratives and often focuses on themes of identity and social justice. And our moderator tonight, Wim Wenders, a leading figure of the new German cinema of the 1960s and 70s. We can applaud, that's great, thank you. Is among today's most influential filmmakers in world cinema. His iconic films, Paris, Texas, and Wings of Desire, along with documentaries such as Pina, Buena Vista Social Club, and The Salt of the Earth, are part of the international film heritage. In 2023, Anselm and Perfect Days premiered at Cannes, with Perfect Days earning an Oscar nomination. Since 1976, his company Road Movies has developed and produced his film projects, and with his wife, Donata, he also works through Wenders Images, their creative studio for photography, exhibitions, short films, and book publications. In 2012, the couple founded the Wim Wenders Foundation to preserve, restore, and disseminate his films and to support young filmmakers. Now please join me in giving a very warm welcome to these two icons.
There's Brazilians in the room.
Boa noite.
Boa noite.
We're very envious of David Lynch curriculum vitae. Can you share it?
His CV, it read David Lynch, Boy Scout, Wyoming. That was shorter than ours. Good evening to all of you. You know this man, but the movie you're seeing tonight is a quarter of a century old, almost. So, would you mind going back to the mindset before you started this movie? What was leading up to it? It's your second feature film. I remember the first one, Foreign Land. That was quite a splash already. But now you do Central Station. What led to this incredible film?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say how honored I am to be here tonight at the museum. We were still under the spell of the exhibits. We saw Bong Joon-ho's and Jaws. Incredible. So congrats for such an extraordinary programming at this museum. First of all.
Did you see the Jaws exhibition? Did you do the vertigo on your iPhone? I did it. So Central Station was
Before Central Station, I wouldn't have made Central Station if I hadn't fallen in love with films. And it's very moving to be here tonight, because if it weren't for Wim's films, I wouldn't have become a filmmaker. If I hadn't seen Alice in the Cities, if I hadn't seen Paris, Texas, if I hadn't seen The American Friend, I wouldn't have become a filmmaker. So
I made them for you.
Let me give you a little bit of context for Central Station on a political standpoint. We were emerging from 21 years of the military dictatorship. That was the longest dictatorship in South America for the second half of the past century. There had been censorship and all kinds of violence that you can imagine and now see on films. But the fact is that we didn't, for a long time, letters hadn't been sent. We didn't have access to the reflections of the country, and cinema does that wonderfully. Cinema is truly the form to somehow capture our identity in motion, and there hadn't been that. And for some time I was trying to find a story that could somehow embrace the moment we were living, you know, and find characters whose journeys could somehow mirror something larger, which would be the reflection of the country that we were trying to become. So that was, I would say, the aim behind it. What triggered it was a documentary. I did a documentary called Socorro Nobre, and Socorro Nobre is about the exchange of letters between a woman who was imprisoned, Socorro, who sent a letter to a sculptor called Franz Grasberg, who was a friend of mine, and she discovered his work on a magazine that was almost 2 years old in prison. And what he used to do was to go to the Amazon, take burnt wood that was abandoned, and he granted a second life to that wood. And she somehow saw herself in that situation and wrote to him. And he wrote back. And I ended up doing a documentary on that exchange of letters. And that gave me the idea that was the following: well, if letters can really have such an impact on two individuals, what happens to somebody who would be a letter writer, but maybe wouldn't send those letters? And that was the beginning, the igniting factor. I wouldn't have created the film without that initial sparkle.
It's a great character. Somebody who people come to ask her to write a letter for her, because these people are all illiterate. And this lady, she's retired, a retired teacher, sits in the central station, and people come and dictate their letters, and she gets paid for it. That is a beautiful character. Already from there on, you can't go wrong making a beautiful movie. But you put her in Central Station, and it's such a symbol for the country too. Central Station is almost a metaphor. It's a huge metaphor for society. And you shot in that Central Station, right?
Yes, we shot in the station in that pre-digital Brazil.
Yeah.
And I tried to hide the camera as much as we could under an apparatus that seemed like a construction or something of sorts, and therefore we had a certain freedom of actually doing scenes with hundreds of people crossing the frame.
Yeah, it's a whole Brazilian humanity.
It feels a little bit like a
present
documentary. And I love that sentence that Godard has. Godard has a good sentence for everything.
You can trust him for that.
Yeah, you can trust him. And he used to say, well, fiction films, they tend to, when they become interesting, they tend to drift towards documentary, and vice versa. And we were definitely we were definitely going in that direction, to the point where in the beginning of the film, for those who haven't seen the film or are seeing it again, there are several of the letters that were actually dictated by people who were just bypassers. They were just crossing the station, and they saw Fernanda Montenegro writing letters, and they just dictated the letter. And therefore those letters weren't scripted. They are just part of the narrative, but they weren't. There's a lot of that in the film, by the way.
So there's people who just saw the sign and came and dictated the letter? And you didn't even know what they were going to say?
I had no idea. And the very first person who dictates the letter is the woman in prison from the documentary that had a 24 hours, how would I say that in English? We're both jet lagged.
Like a release?
Was allowed to have 24 hours out of the prison to be part of the film and then go back. And the very first letter had no idea what it would be. It's that woman from the documentary who actually shares the letter with the Fernanda Montenegro character.
So that's how the two film forms intertwine in the beginning of your film. But let's talk about Fernanda Montenegro. You mentioned her several times. The Brazilians in the place know that this is the grande dame of Brazilian cinema and theater. Maybe some of the other people here wouldn't know who she is. She's playing an elderly lady, retired, And it just so happens that you made your first film with her daughter. And then you made your second film with her mom. I don't think anybody did that before. But, I mean, the casting of Fernanda Dora, she's called in the film, is just already the whole movie. I mean, she becomes the film. And we have to speak about the rest of the film, not just the beginning. But how did that come about? You make a film, your first film, with a young actress, Fernanda Torres, and she's fantastic. And 3 years later, you make a film with her mom. How did that happen?
Well, as Fernanda says, I fell in love with the mother before falling in love with Fernanda. Fernanda Montenegro is an extraordinary actress. She hadn't done that many films. I think that Central Station is her 6th or 7th film, because she's an extraordinary theater actress. And I was always trying to find a story that was solid enough to somehow have the courage to offer it to her. And Central Station gave me that possibility. She was incredibly generous. She rapidly befriended the boy in the film, in search of the father and also in search of the country, in a way. He was a non-actor, so for an actor of Fernanda's caliber to be able to somehow find the tone with the kid took a little bit of rehearsal, but at some point it took an extraordinary sensibility and generosity from Fernanda. Yeah. And she was the first violin of the orchestra. All other actors are somehow, I tried to find the tone thanks to her and to what she had already achieved. We rehearsed for several weeks prior to that, and once we were ready to go, the film was shot rapidly, not too many shots on each side, and what you see is a lot of something that is coming to the surface with freshness.
What you see is a road movie, because once the film is established as she's writing letters for other people, she doesn't mail them, but destroys them. And then she meets this kid, and she's a witness of the fact that he becomes an orphan. But I don't want to tell you the story. But anyway, the film, after the first 10 minutes, soon becomes an amazing road movie, and you travel through the entire country to the Sertão, which is a mythical landscape in the north of Brazil. And you have these two characters. And in the beginning, they're a little bit, I mean, they don't really connect. I mean, she's grumpy. She wants to get rid of the kid. The kid doesn't want to go with her. But then somehow, slowly, this incredible relationship starts happening, and you feel how much the two of them learn from each other, and how the kid almost becomes an adult and she becomes soft, because she's pretty tough in the beginning and grumpy, and you don't want to go with her. And so, did that really happen between the two of them?
It did in many ways, and the film is really about does the word exist? Resensibilization of that woman. For me, she represented pretty much the survivor of that previous time in Brazil, that previous regime, and that somehow has to understand, what the country truly is. It's you see the unveiling of a country through her eyes, and that only happens because the kid is the character that triggers it.
He opens her eyes, yeah.
And I would say the people they meet along the way, which in a road movie is so important is for the characters to be somehow resensitized by the kind of human geography and physical geography they meet along the way, you know. And what we have to understand is that part of Brazil hadn't been seen for a long time, almost 20 years. You know, in fact, there was very little representation of that part of Brazil. So the title of the film in Portuguese, Central do Brasil, relates to the largest train station in Rio, but it also relates to the center of Brazil. So somehow it was about unveiling that human geography and that physical geography. That was truly what we were aiming at.
You see amazing things. You really see a country about to start living again and about to start existing again. You see this amazing city. I mean, it blew my mind when I see that settlement up there in the Sertão. How did you find that? You didn't build it.
Actually, we try to incorporate as much as we could what we found during the location scouting, and perhaps the I would say in the Sertão, in that northeastern part of Brazil, the main sequence of the film didn't exist in the screenplay. The pilgrimage scene in the screenplay wasn't there, and in doing the scouting, I saw one of those pilgrimages actually happening, and I was struck by its strength and the fact that 1,000 people were there praying for something that was truly fundamental for them, which in their case has to do with rain or health for the families and so forth. So we incorporated that part, that pilgrimage in the screenplay, and we invited the pilgrims, real pilgrims, 600 pilgrims, to actually be part of the scene.
They did a good job.
And what happened? Obviously, when we started to enact the scene ceased to be a reenactment and became the pilgrimage itself. So everything you're going to see on that sequence is a take one.
The amazing thing is, if you hear that how much of the film is improvised and how much of the film happened, the amazing film is the language that you tell it with, because it never feels like a document. It always feels like a very solid cinematographic language with amazing shots, beautiful white shots. And how did you prepare for that? Did you have a storyboard? How did you actually maneuver the film through so much things happening to you and so much happening on the road?
I think that, you know, what allowed the film to exist was the fact that we were a small crew, and every single person on that crew was passionate about what we were telling, and that allowed us to move in synchronicity. And to incorporate whatever reality was bringing to us, so that it wouldn't feel like a documentary, you know, at some point. There's something that Andrei Tarkovsky, the Russian filmmaker, says that I always found so beautiful and so difficult to get, which is a film only takes flight when every single person in front of the camera and behind the camera are in the same artery of the film. And I think that we were in the same artery of the film, and this is what allowed us to integrate whatever we were finding on the way into it, you know, into the narrative. It's we were both mesmerized by Bong Joon-ho's drawing.
It's another exhibition here.
It's a fantastic exhibition, and there's he used to draw every single scene before shooting it, and I think that I'm such in admiration of Bong Joon-ho, but I would never be able to draft. I'm a very poor draftsman. But beyond that, if I get back to the hotel at night and if I just follow the screenplay, I get very, I would say, unrestful. I love it when we manage to transcend what's on the page, you know. And you can do that if the whole crew is on the exact same temperature.
So 10, 12, 14 people?
I wish. No, we were that many on Foreign Land, the previous film with Fernanda Torres. But no, here we were more, but not that many, and on the set, that's how many we are. No video feedback.
Yeah, that was the time. That was the time where you had to trust your cameraman, and you saw the rushes 2 weeks later, and then you realized it wasn't him who fucked up, it was yourself.
Can I bifurcate for a second and say that in Paris, Texas, if I remember well, the very last part of the movie, which is completely unforgettable and extraordinary, you were 9 people on the set.
We had run out of budget. We did the very last week of shooting with 3. The very last we did the whole road trip we had done the road trip back to Texas, but we had to shoot so specifically that we only shot the actors, and I hadn't shot a single motel sign, a single POV through the window. I didn't do any of that sort of second unit stuff. So we did, when the film was finished, 3 of us did another week and did all the POVs and all the little things that sort of make it a road movie. But I mean, you really take us on a trip to the Sertão, and I've always wanted to go there, and it's such a mythical landscape. Is it that for Brazilians as well, the Sertão? Is it such a remote, unknown country? Or does anybody know it? I asked you,
I'm
how
from
many
there.
of you know the Sertão? Where there? Okay, there's a few. And how many of you saw this film once before? Good. So a lot of them will discover it for the first time. I envy you. I'm going to stay here with you because I want to see the film in the print. I saw it at the time. I saw it again a couple of days ago, but on my computer because I just wanted to not be foolish and just babble and talk from memory. But now I really want to see that. I really want to see it with you. If you let me sit in the front row, because I never sit in the second, I always sit in the first. Still, it's a mystery for me, the step from Foreign Land to this film. I still want to get into your mind when you make this one. Foreign Land, not many of you might know it, it's his Abu de Souffle. That's Godard's. We quoted him already, first film. And Foreign Land felt a little bit like it. It felt like inventing cinema from scratch. And it's about a country, Foreign Land is Brazil. But it's all these Brazilians who look at their own country like it was a foreign land. And they go abroad. How many young people left the country at that time?
No, the total of people who left the country at that time were, the official number is 800,000.
800,000, especially young people, because the country didn't offer any possibilities. It didn't offer any perspective. And a lot of them went, of course, to Portugal, to Lisbon, and to Spain. So a lot of your film is shot in Sao Paulo. And you have this lost generation, so to speak, who finds itself back in Europe, looking at their country, the foreign land. So, and from there, this from looking at your country almost like from a distance, or like a longing, or trying to invent it again somehow. And then you make this film, and you're really at home there, and you see the country coming back in the film. Was that really the intention? Or did it just come into the film?
I think that the idea to actually develop characters that somehow reflect something that transcends the characters themselves and talks about the country's identity was there already in foreign land, but it wasn't really developed to the point where I would say I tried to get in Central Station. And again, I wouldn't have been able to probably to find the initial sparkle without the documentary. You know, I did a lot of documentaries between the two films, and that helped me a lot. Wim also goes back to documentary films after every single.
I think any feature director should be forced to do documentaries in between to clean their heads. But I was going to get to something.
But I didn't answer the question. I would say that Central Station, for some reason, came to mind in a much more clearer manner than any other film I've made. I woke up with it one day. I wrote 20 pages, and the structure is pretty much what you have at the very end. So it was somehow already burgeoning in a subconscious manner, but it just materialized itself in one go, probably because that had been already heralded by the Brazilian music of the time and the arts of the time and the theater of the time, and all of that impregnates you, and then you try to respond to that.
That really resonates strongly in me, because I know from experience myself too that it's just that one morning or that night and that first time you see the film, and if that carries you through the film, that is such a good feeling. And sometimes, I mean, I know from experience too, you lose that first idea of it, and then you have to struggle to find a better idea or to find it again. But you were able to hang on to that initial dream you had of the film.
The archery film.
Yeah. but then it's a film. I mean, it's in Portuguese and it's in Brazil. It didn't necessarily have to connect to audiences all over the world, but it did. I know that, and it went all the way to the Oscars. So that only happens if your film transcends your story and your own situation and your country. And it only happens that a film connects to people all over the world. If it's not English speaking but subtitled, it only happens if you tell something that connects and transcends, as you say, your own country and your own situation and your own language. Do you think you knew that when you were making the film?
You're reminding me of Fernanda Montenegro in the Northeast. They at 100 degrees, and we were preparing to shoot, and she looked at me and she said, I'm thinking, will anyone come and watch a film with this bitter old lady and an unbearable boy? Probably not, but we're doing the film we wanted to do, aren't we? And I said, yes, we are. And here you are.
And that's
she would be so happy to see this. And
That's
I
what's
think that
good.
Fernanda, the reason for the film to have become what it was is that she elevated the film. She really did. She elevated the film to where the film could somehow be recognizable in different cultures, in different places, so that
absolutely.
those characters become close to you, whatever you're from. I had the same feeling in Perfect Days. I was with your main character. I knew him. You know, the distance between the spectator and the character was abolished. And this is when films
you said it
truly
yourself,
exist,
if
is
you-
when that distance is abolished, I think.
If you know what you're doing and if you enjoy what you're doing, you have a good chance to get to that transcendence. But you have to be fulfilled by it yourself. Walter?
Am I allowed to say a very short little story? I'm going to share with him. He doesn't know it yet. 18 years ago, the Cannes Film Festival was celebrating its 60th anniversary, and they invited many directors to do a short film about that. It just happened that my son was turning 6 months old, at that time, and my short film was called Letter to V for Vicente, his name, and it was I was asking him what films would he see when he would be 18, and what films would bring him to become, to cinema. And one of those films was Paris, Texas, because that's one of the films that brought me to cinema. Cut 18 years later, my son last month turns to me. He saw 300 films in the last year, and I never imposed anything on him. He doesn't know this short. He just told me, I saw one of my favorite films ever, and that's Paris, Texas.
Thank you all so much, and we thank the Academy for this beautiful chance to talk to each other and plug all the exhibitions.
Thank you.